Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Obviously, for the past couple of weeks, we've all been jumping into Caldera, trying to figure out what is the best loadout to use, what are the top weapons, the top primaries, the top secondaries, all sorts of stuff like that. We're definitely in a meta discovery phase, if you will. And obviously, one of the biggest factors in any meta loadout is the TTK. You're never gonna have a meta loadout or any meta weapons that don't have a good TTK. The time to kill has to be good. You have to be melting players if something is going to be considered the absolute best of the best. And today, my friends, we're taking a look at what I would say is probably one of the top TTK loadouts in the game, if not the single best and fastest TTK loadout in the entire game. Between the primary, the secondary, no matter what type of engagement you're going to find yourself in, you are going to fry everyone and everything. So as we go through it all today, if you enjoy the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. Would be seriously appreciated. And of course, if you're new to the channel or if you have not already subscribed, just about 57% of viewers are not subbed yet, and we are getting super close to 800,000 subs. It'd be awesome if we could hit that before the end of the year. So if you want to stay up to date with everything, feel free to hit that sub button, click that bell icon. That way you'll always know whenever I post a new video. And also, until Tuesday, my friends over at G Fuel have bumped up code IMMORTAL to get you 30% off your entire order in case you want to grab any last minute things for the holidays, a new tub, a shaker cup, a starter pack, anything like that. Code IMMORTAL has it covered. Now, obviously, we're going to break down the class setup and go over all the attachments and everything like that, but let's talk about this loadout in and of itself. If you can't tell by the gameplay in the background already, we are talking about the BREN LMG and then also the AS44 assault rifle. So you're sort of doubling up on the AR ammo here, the rifle ammo, I should say. That's something you sort of have to be mindful of if you're constantly spraying and praying and just going all out. A muni box is probably going to be your best friend, or hopefully the enemies that you're taking out have a good amount of rifle ammo on them because you are doubling up there. But when it comes down to it, the Bren is probably the best LMG in the game right now. I mean, the TTK, the ease of use, the range, everything about this thing is as spicy as it gets. Specifically on the Bren, there's a barrel you can use that makes it so that you don't have a damage drop off. There is no damage diminishing over range, which is huge because that means at 20 meters, the TTK is going to be the same. And at 80 meters, the TTK is going to be the same because it's not dropping off over time, which is wildly beneficial to use. Not to mention with certain attachments, this thing has almost next to no recoil. It's got surprisingly good mobility for an LMG. It's not the fastest thing in the world. Like, obviously, if somebody's got a Mach 10, they're going to outrun you. But it's not as bad as you might think it is. And then when it comes to the AS44, this is not a weapon I was expecting to use as like a close range secondary, as the sort of pocket SMG AR hybrid. But after they ended up nerfing Bloom and basically removing it from the game, the AS44 now looks very promising because it already had an incredible TTK, one of the fastest TTKs out of the entire rifle category. But before, its Bloom was just awful. It would deviate left, right, up, down, all sorts of ways. So landing shots was not ideal. Now, though, because it shoots straight, you just got to control the recoil and you're good. And obviously, if you're using this as an SMG, as one of those close range alternatives, recoil is not a huge factor in 0 to 25 meter fights because the targets are so big, it's easy to stay on and keep that gun balanced while you're shooting, even though the recoil on the AS44 is a lot more noticeable. Now, I tried using it for a main rifle as just like a base great TTK loadout. For range, it's still not it, in my opinion. The recoil is a bit too much for that, but using this as an aggressive SMG AR hybrid, I feel like that's where it really shines, and the thing is an absolute monster. So you combine these two, yeah, you don't have the fastest maneuvering loadout in the world, but you will fry everyone you meet. There's no question about that. There's no doubt about that. So let's talk this loadout before we break down the attachments. EOD, overkill, amped, frags, and stuns is the go-to for the perks and the equipment here. Same old, nothing really new going on there. Now for the Bren, pretty much the same setup y'all have seen me been using over the past couple of days. Mercury silencer first and foremost, better control, sound suppression, so obviously you're staying off the radar. The con here, minus damage range, does not matter at all, which is great because if you use the Royal Barrel, better accuracy and control, better velocity, damage does not diminish over range, so no damage drop-offs, no reductions to your damage range matter because it's not getting reduced and it's not getting, enhanced in any way. It just does not fall off, which is the crucial part of this setup. I go for the 2.5 times custom scope. I feel like this is a solid reticle. It's clean. It helps with recoil control. So all around, I'm a big fan of that one. I go for the BH stock primarily for the better control and aiming stability here. I've also heard people are liking the SP2B stock as well. You get accuracy and recoil during sustained fire, really just recoil during sustained fire. so that's not a bad option either if you want to experiment around with that. Either the hand stop or the carver. I've heard some people saying that the carver gives you a little bit more horizontal bounce. Hand stop though just doesn't control it as much vertically, so sort of depends on what you're looking for there. I'd recommend trying out both and seeing which one you're more accurate with. I feel like it was not the biggest difference in the world, but you might notice it a little bit more depending if you're playing on 80 FOV or a different FOV in general, whatever it may be. For the mag here, surprisingly, I'm sort of switching over to the Sakura 40 round mags. Now you might be wondering why you're getting less damage, but compared to the 50 BMG 50 rounds, which is what I was running before, you get a better fire rate. You also get better control. So the thing is an absolute laser at any range, and it really doesn't feel like the TTK is any slower at all. I was hitting way more shots with this. I was melting players way more with this versus the BMG 50. So personally, I would recommend running the first mag here because it works very, very well. Obviously, we're going for lengthen for the better velocity, polymer for the better control during sustained fire, tight grip for more of the same, better control during sustained fire. You could also try sleight of hand though if you want to as well, because let's be honest, LMG reloads are not the best in the world. Then finally, I go for fully loaded. It's about the only two perk worth running here. And then when it comes to the AS44, this is an interesting build because obviously you want to have it as that pocket SMG, but there's no super optimal way to make it very, very aggressive, specifically when it comes to the barrel. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but obviously the muzzle here, we want to go for the mercury silencer, better control, very ideal. You want a lot of control aspects on this gun because the recoil is a little bit more noticeable, especially if you're getting into some of those medium range fights where you might find yourself using this gun. Having some control in there is pretty crucial in my opinion. So mercury, yet again, the damage range diminished doesn't really matter too much just because we're in close range fights, damage range is not super important there. Now for the barrel, I just simply went ahead and went for the first one here. Yeah, it's better for control and better for range, so it's a little bit more ideal for some of those medium range fights. But when you look at the other ones, this is about the only one that's worth running in my opinion. So better hip fire and recoil recovery is not ideal. You're not hip firing with a rifle really, even as that pocket SMG. The burst barrel, do I even need to say anything? It's not worth it. Precision, while you get better headshot damage, reduced body damage is a no-go for me every single time. And then the last barrel here is better fire rate, but I tried this and it's just the recoil is just not good. It does not feel right. It just bounces around way too much, so leaves you to the first one, sort of the lesser of all the evils here. Definitely not the best for a close range fight, and even if you wanted to, you could try running no barrel, but if you want a barrel for some better control, that'd be the one that I recommend there. Because I'm a little bit more close range based, I just went for the basic 2.5 times optic. You could also try slate reflector as well if you wanted to. Both those work for some of those closer range fights. For the stock here, I went for the 12A stock. Better ADS, better horizontal control. There's a little bit of bounce side to side, so that helps with that. And also the better ADS is ideal for playing a little bit more aggressive there. I went for the Carver foregrip just for the recoil control aspects there. Pretty ideal, and as we know, that helps the most with control out of all the underbarrels. For the magazine here, at first I tried the 40 round damage increasing mags, and it just again was not it. There was too much bounce because the recoil obviously gets hurt a lot there. Worse ADS, worse movement, worse fire rate. It just wasn't ideal for that close range setup. Instead, I went for the 30 Russian short 60 round. This is just your basic extended mag. You could maybe try the Gorenko 50. It's going to be something like sort of what we have over on the Bren, where it makes it way easier to control, which is some slightly less damage. I'd recommend experimenting around with both of these and seeing which one you like more, but the 60 round is not going to hurt you in any significant way, so if you can get used to this, it's going to work just fine. I go for hollow point here. Lengthened and that extra bullet velocity is just not that necessary for close range builds, so hollow point, some extra limb damage. Yeah, you hurt your velocity and your range a little bit, but we've already gained that back a bit, and again, close range fights, it's not the worst thing in the world to be losing. Polymer yet again, fully loaded yet again, and then finally I go for momentum. Honestly, the perks for the AS44 here are not very good. None of these are really all that ideal, but move speed after kills, sure, it helps out a little bit, but these other ones, you're not getting long shots on this build, so that's relevant. Sleight of hand you could use. It's probably the second best option here. Steady is all right, another one that maybe you could get by with, but I just don't know if it's worth running over maybe some extra speed or a faster reload. Gung Ho would not recommend, and disable I also wouldn't recommend. So between steady, sleight of hand, and momentum, those are your go-tos there. And with all that being said, that, my friends, is the fastest killing loadout in the game right now. The loadout that I think has the best TTK between close range, medium range, and long range. You got yourself covered with these two weapons, so definitely recommend jumping in and trying out this loadout. Let me know how it goes for you down in the comments below. But as always, if you enjoyed the video or if you found it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. It would be seriously appreciated. And of course, if you're new here or if you have not already subscribed, feel free to do so. That way you can always guarantee you are up to date with everything going on in COD, between news, updates, loadouts, tips. It's all right here each and every single day. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy. Have an awesome rest of your day. And I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.